G'day and welcome to the City Point podcast, first day of the fourth test at the Gabba between Australia and India. I'm joined by Declan Hooper from wicketsandpickets.com. Interesting first day, Declan. It's just even Stevens, maybe?
Yeah, it's been on a knife edge. Every time you think one side's got the ascendancy, the other team just claws back. I thought, early on, India definitely had the run of play, and then Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne brought together a healthy partnership and kind of stemmed the tide. And then Matthew Wade came in, and again looked bright. But then this afternoon, a couple of wickets changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. When we look at the top of the order, David Warner goes out in the first over or so, and then Marcus Harris joins him in the pavilion like 17 for 2 for 17. Australians in trouble at that stage, but then Smith and Labuschagne, as per, steadied the ship, and they looked like they were going to rattle off a few runs, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, they're ever reliable for Australia at the moment, aren't they? Just seems that, any time that this kind of thing happens, which it has happened relatively recently and relatively frequently, either one or both seem to pull it out for the Australians. So today it seemed to be, started off with Smith and Labuschagne together, and then Labuschagne carried on with it. Smith looked the more likely out of the two when they both came out. However, one poor shot, and that's the end of Smith.
I would imagine Smudger would have been pretty disappointed with the way he got out because it was a pretty innocuous delivery. It didn't seem to be doing much, and he just chipped it straight to mid-wicket.
Well, I mean, where we were in the press box today, he looked steaming when he came off. He was absolutely fuming with the shot, and rightfully so, because as we said, he did look like he was in good nick, and a silly shot, and that's the end of his day.
So that was 3 for 87 at that stage, and then it could have been and should have been 4 for 93 when Labuschagne was dropped by Rahane at Gully. Pretty easy chance from the skipper, and it was proved really costly in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, I think Marnus Labuschagne needs to buy himself a lottery ticket. He seems to be dropped quite a lot this series, and I mean, like the fielding has been left somewhat to be desired this whole series. However, Rahane seems to be the old faithful as far as taking chances. So it seemed a bit of a shock for him to put such an easy chance down and such a important chance down as well.
Yeah. Apparently, according to statistics, Labuschagne has been dropped 10 times since the 2019 Ashes series. So you could say he has ridden his luck a little bit. But, I mean, he batted well after he got dropped. Got dropped twice, once on 37, once on 48. Difficult chance, the second one from Pujara at slip. But once he went past 50, he seemed to be chanceless. He was definitely trying to rub it in, and he wanted definitely to make that 10 because he's been close on a couple of occasions in this series already, and he wasn't going to let this one go, I don't think.
No, I think hometown boy as well does, I'm sure there'll be even more importance riding on the Gabba test for him. And I think it did look like once he got dropped, it was like he kind of took himself to another level, and there was no more mucking around, and it was just, beautiful straight play after beautiful straight play.
Him and Matthew Wade seem to be turning the test Australia's way, and then obviously, again, Matthew Wade gets 42, throws his wicket away, and soon after, Labuschagne does the same thing. It seems to be the way of this series that Australia get on top for a little bit, and then by choices of shots or some good bowling by the Indians. On this occasion, it was probably bad choice of shots by both players. They throw their wickets away.
Yeah, and it almost seemed like Matthew Wade came out and looked like the most carefree batsman in the world, who was playing, beautiful shots, pull shots, everything like that, and then just out of nowhere, just silly shots that really didn't need to be played at the point. Like, they were on top, in a relatively crucial part of the day, just before tea.
It's difficult for the selectors to look at him in the middle order there and see what he offers them. If he keeps going to do scores like that, 42, it's a good score, but he should have got at least a 50, and he probably should have got a bit more. I don't know what the Indians have done to deserve their bad luck, but it doesn't seem to be working at the moment. So you've got to give them credit for sticking with it with all these injuries they come up. I mean, really, if you look at the test side that was picked for the first test, the one that's picked for this test, in 4 test matches they've lost 9. They made 9 changes from the first to the last.
And arguably played better in the last couple of tests than they did in the first test. I mean,
absolutely, yeah.
So
and everybody was wondering how they'd go without Virat Kohli. In fact, I think they probably played better without him, and maybe all the other guys have stepped up in his stead. And the guys that have come in are not just newbies; they've been around for a few years playing through the IPL, so they've had experience of playing against international cricketers. So they're not newbies. I know they're newbies to test matches, but they're not newbies to playing hard cricket.
Well, and I also think that it's I suppose when you have a player like Virat Kohli, it does become easy to rely on him to get the bulk of your runs and win the bulk of your games, essentially. There seems to be a lot more of a collective effort, a lot more of a team effort, like we saw in the last test, batting out the 5th day, and we've seen collectively with the bowlers as well. That there seems to be like quite a unity within the Indian team currently, and there seems to be quite...
Yeah. The only thing I think that they might have missed out on, missed a trick today, is that they didn't pick the leg spinner, the left-arm spinner, Kuldeep Yadav. Maybe that will come back to bite them at the end of this test match, because statistics show once Australia get to 300 in the first innings at the Gabba, they don't lose. The last time they lost after getting 300 in the first innings at the Gabba, when do you reckon it was?
Oh, I'd say well before my time. Probably not before your time, though.
Oh, no. Unfortunately, it is before my time. It was 1933 in the Bodyline series. So
there you go.
That's the last time they lost after posting 300 in their first innings. So, I reckon, but anything less than 400 on this pitch, by the looks of it, would be a below par, I think.
Oh, 100%. And I think that does go back to Australia losing their wickets cheaply today. I think, yes, they made a decent score for a first day, and it's all to play for tomorrow morning, the first session. However, I think the likes of Steve Smith and Matthew Wade will be kicking themselves, because there was runs to be scored today and tomorrow potentially, and they haven't done it. So I have no doubt that India will come back swinging and will score runs on this track.
I don't think their batting lineup's been hurt too much with Vihari going out, because they've actually got an extra batsman in Washington Sundar. What a great name that is, by the way. And so he's an all-rounder. He can bat. They go back down to Shardul Thakur as well. He can bat. So their tail has actually been it's going to be better than it was in the first 3 test matches. I think that'd be good for India. But like I say, I think it's all in the balance tomorrow. And we say it, every session is important, but the one tomorrow morning is key for India. If they let Australia get away and Tim Payne and Cameron Green put on 100 partnership or more, then you would say that Australia are in the box seat. But I still think they need to get 400 plus.
Yeah, I agree. I think also the other thing is, other than the last test matches, the tests themselves haven't been going the full 5 days. So I think long batting and key partnerships are absolutely essential in this test, because there's a forecast for rain as well tomorrow afternoon. So it runs on the board is critical for Australia to make sure that they win this test and regain the Border Gavaskar Trophy.
The one thing I did notice today was there wasn't as much chat going around the stump mics today as there has been, especially when Tim Payne came out to bat. So maybe that turned up as the test match goes on. But interesting day ahead. Let's hope day 2 is as good as day 1. Look forward to our chat after the second day at the Gabba tomorrow.
Cheers, mate. Have a good night, hey?